What is up, guys? Thank you very much for clicking on this video. So a couple of weeks back, I made a really popular video on this channel about my love for Dungeons and Dragons and virtual reality, and we covered Tavern Tales, a way to play our beloved tabletop RPGs in virtual reality. If you haven't seen that video, I will link it in the info box above, and I encourage you to check it out and download it and play it. But there is a new contender on the market that seems to be shaking things up. Tavern Tales hasn't had a ton of competition in the VR tabletop space for actual D&D. I'm not counting Demio, which is also a fantastic game. You should definitely check that out. So today we are going to be looking at a game called Questhaven that is going to be soon coming to Kickstarter. Now, I tend to not get too excited over Kickstarters because I've seen them fail time and time again. But after spending a couple of days in Questhaven's Discord, which of course will be linked down below, and checking out their website and their announcement trailer that we're gonna deep dive into in just a second, I could not be more excited for the future of D&D in virtual reality. So without further ado, we're going to go ahead and do something a little different. We're going to jump into the computer and give you my breakdown of the trailer and what I think is going to be game-changing features. All right, guys, in the computer, I apologize if my camera quality isn't as great. We are not shooting on my DSLR camera. We're here today taking a look at the Welcome to Questhaven trailer. This is going to be a D&D, VR, and desktop-supported tabletop simulator. So, I have seen this video, so I already know what's expected, but I want to give you guys my opinion and my breakdown on everything and how I think this is going to potentially change the future of playing Dungeons and Dragons in virtual reality. So this is cool. Basically, this little trailer showcases, or this scene showcases basically that there's going to be high quality miniatures in what looks like high quality terrain. You obviously can't know if this is being created in VR or if the DM is going to be able to create these maps on the tabletop version and then import them into VR, much like you do in Tavern Tales with writing handouts and DM notes and things of that nature. But it would be very cool to build your maps in tabletop, or it'd be very cool to build your maps in a desktop mode so that you don't have to wear your headset the entire time that you're building maps, because I know a lot of DMs will spend hours perfecting a map and it's just not really possible to do in virtual reality yet. So this is very cool. This here reminds me a lot of Demio, which Tavern Tales does in a lot of ways. However, this has some really quality change of life stuff to it in comparison to Tavern Tales. So, for instance, I don't believe that Tavern Tales has a grid, and as you see in this video, they are moving on a grid, which in Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, traditionally you move in 5-foot square tiles. So very cool to see that transitioned over to here, rather than in Tavern Tales where you have to just take like a ruler measurement, very similar to like Warhammer tabletop. So travel to distant lands, it's obviously showcasing just some of the map making. You can obviously customize your avatar. This here though, this is the #1 feature that people had commented on my Tavern Tales video about. I believe that I've expressed my biggest thing that I have wanted in Dungeons and Dragons in virtual reality is the ability for not only your players to take control of their character that they have created in role play with it, but for the DM to also take control of NPCs and role play the NPCs. I mean, could you imagine that you build a town and you walk into a alchemist's shop and your players can snap into their creations that they have made and the personality traits and play out that character in virtual reality, all while the NPC is playing the shopkeeper. This is what I've wanted in Dungeons and Dragons in virtual reality since I discovered Tavern Tales. What's really cool about this as well, as we just saw there, I'll run it back and then I'll be quiet and let you watch it, is that the miniatures seem animated. So in Tavern Tales, it's just a very transition over from just traditional tabletop gaming where you drop miniatures on a map and they're kind of just these static things that don't really feel alive. They're just a tool in your Dungeons and Dragons game. Questhaven takes that and amplifies it by looking at what seems to be animations from this trailer. So your monsters and your NPCs feel like they come to life. So I'll run that back a little bit just so you can see what I just broke down for you. I want to stop and look at this character sheet real quick because this is another really important part of D&D. So this character sheet looks very easy to read. It looks spot on. All we can see in this still image is stats. I'm not sure how spells will work in terms of like in D&D Beyond, for instance, where you can like click a box and it checks off that spell slot. I hope that something like that would be implemented, but this character sheet looks really good. Aside from this character sheet, looking at the detail and complexity of this map-making software is just truly phenomenal. Dice rolling looks pretty standard. I will say that the dice rolls are very spot on with Tavern Tales, so nothing to really chime in on that one. Looks like some of our terrain tools here are pretty in-depth. This looks very similar to other tabletop world builders that you find on Steam and things of that nature, so that seems pretty straightforward. Once again, just building out landscapes. All the assets look really good. Looks like there's a lot of selection. This is really interesting too. So they're doing more than just fantasies. So if you want to play your cyberpunk game or maybe mutants and masterminds, I can only hope that they do Call of Cthulhu, because that is personally one of my favorite tabletop games, and not a lot of tabletop RPGs have assets for Cthulhu stuff. So maybe we'll get that as like a content update down the road or something along those lines. But very cool that they're stepping up their game and adding more than just traditional D&D. A little bit of a social aspect here. This is very cool. I'm not sure if this is just the player avatars role-playing in a dungeon or a tavern, or if this is an example of how snapping into your character in a DM-created environment could be. We don't know, obviously, just from this trailer, but speculation aside, this is still very cool. So that is Questhaven. And the website is www.playquesthaven.com. I believe you can sign up for their mailing list there. It does say Kickstarter is coming soon. I have no idea when that Kickstarter may be coming or how much it's going to cost or what tiers it's going to be. But this is very promising for D&D in virtual reality, and this is just coming closer and closer and closer to what I want. So thank you guys very much for watching, and I will be covering Questhaven as there are things to cover. So make sure, if you enjoyed this video and you want to see more VR D&D content, like, comment, and blow this video up. Love you guys. Peace.